Hey out there, this is Tokyo's very own #1 pirate power station, Jet Set Radio! Over the hood, through the streets, and right into your brain. We're transmitting our signal straight to you. Y'all got your antennas on or what? Yeah, we're riding high in a smooth stream of supersonic sound. And I'm your captain and DJ, Professor K. Jet Set Radio!
At the end of the 90s, 3D visuals were the most sought-after way to experience gaming in North America, often at the expense of games still produced with 2D visuals. Games with 3D visuals were becoming the best-selling and highest-reviewed games in the market. At the time, it seemed like it would take a lot for gamers to see the next big visual leap after 2D to 3D. But one studio found a way. Taking advantage of the Dreamcast hardware, this studio would create a new kind of game, with mechanics and an aesthetic seen as very unique and innovative. It would also be a game that would help introduce and popularize cel-shaded visuals, something never before seen in games. This brand new innovation to gaming would be Jet Set Radio, released in North America as Jet Grind Radio. Before Smilebit, the studio behind this game, there was Team Andromeda. Team Andromeda had been formed as one of Sega's smaller studios to help grow the library of the Sega Saturn. It was a small studio that blended experienced arcade veterans with newcomers to the company. Team Andromeda's only contribution to the Saturn was the entire Panzer Dragoon franchise. Panzer Dragoon was Team Andromeda's way of developing a fantasy game that would look visually appealing, play well, and be easy to develop for everyone. Panzer Dragoon would end up being one of Saturn's most successful franchises, owing a lot of its success to the 1998 Panzer Dragoon Saga. Panzer Dragoon Saga would be the last game that Team Andromeda would work on, at least under the studio name. Team Andromeda would disband, and its members would join Sega AM3 in the formation of a new studio, Smilebit. Under the Smilebit banner, the team had to figure out what their first game would be. Panzer Dragoon series planner Masayoshi Kikuchi would be the director of this new project, which would be a huge undertaking for him as he had no directing experience, and he was expected to lead a team of a few dozen young developers. Having spent so many years working on a game with a fantasy aesthetic, Kikuchi wanted to work on something drastically different. Ryuta Ueda, another former member of Team Andromeda, helped establish the two guarantees that this project in development had. Inspired by the entertainment industry of the 90s, Ueda wanted the setting of this project to be a realistic world indicative of 90s pop culture.
90年の終わりぐらいですごいポップカルチャーとかあと、東京のその若いカルチャーっていうのがすごい活気があってですごい色使いもポップなものとか、キュートなキャラクターみたいなのがすごい、もてはやされた時期があってあと音楽とかもその、ミクスチャーって言ってそのビッグビートとか、ロックとその DJ 文化とかの融合みたいなカルチャーがすごい流行ってた時期があってでその中でそのちょっと昔のそのヒップホップのカルチャーとかもちょっとリバイバルが来てるのとかがちょうどなんか自分がその時好きだったもの。
Secondly, it was decided that in order to distinguish this project from everything that was coming out or already came out, the visual presentation of the game would be cel-shaded. What the game itself would end up becoming was best described by Kikuchi as trial and error.
ビジュアルをそのビジュアルから受けるインパクトだったりそのイメージだったりっていうものを形にするところが入ったので初めはそのインラインスケートのゲームでっていうところもなんとなくしか決まってなくてでグラフィティっていう要素はあったかなかったかぐらいなところでですね要はアドベンチャーゲームにもやろうと思えばできたと思いますし、RPG にもできたと思いますし、シューターはなかったと思いますけれどもいろんな選択肢を考えてだけど付 複雑なものではなくシンプルなゲームにしようとしていたので、その試行錯誤が要は絵を描くだけで面白いゲームっていうのはできないだろうかだとか、街をとことこ歩くだけで楽しいゲームってできないだろう。
To help bring the cel-shaded game to life even further, Ueda took inspiration from his own motivations to join Sega. Before joining Sega, Ueda was impressed and inspired by the worldwide appeal of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. But upon joining Sega, it seemed like everything that made Sonic cool was put on the back burner in favor of anime and manga-like presentations. But upon seeing Sony's Parappa the Rapper on display at the 1996 Tokyo Game Show, Ueda's resolve to create something that wasn't normally in the game market grew stronger. Parappa the Rapper may have been the first to combine gaming with modern pop culture, but Ueda sought to make something that did more than just present modern pop culture as an aesthetic. In addition to the themes of music and the major shopping districts of Tokyo, an anti-establishment theme was prevalent throughout the story. A large portion of the inspiration for the anti-establishment theme comes from the 1999 David Fincher film Fight Club. Graffiti would become both an integral plot device and gameplay mechanic of this project. Established mainstream graffiti artist Eric Hayes was brought in as an artist and consultant to help make the graffiti as authentic as possible.
When I think about my relationship to graffiti and art in general, it almost feels like it was never a choice. Some of it was right time, right place, in the right city. I was kind of born into graffiti in the first and second generation in the late 60s and early 70s.
The music just turns me on.
Sega reached out to me to make a contribution to what was then one of the very first graffiti-oriented video games. Most of the work was actually produced already. It was not so much a question of creating work for the game as finding the kind of existing work, files, or base artwork that could then be manipulated and converted within the technology of the game.
All in all, it would be an action platformer with cel-shaded visuals taking place in an open real-world setting based on Tokyo and its shopping districts, with plot elements drawing heavily from the music and pop culture of the times, with an anti-establishment theme borrowing elements of the film Fight Club and the messages behind graffiti art. The next step would be to figure out how to actually make a game from all these ideas and concepts. To pull everything off, the characters would get around town on roller skates instead of skateboards like the Tony Hawk games, and instead of racing, you would be tasked with tagging territory against rival games. Grinding on the rails allowed for players to seamlessly explore the town around them. The camera work supported the exploration by making the camera fixed so that players couldn't easily get motion sick. And working with the Dreamcast, Smilebit took advantage of the hardware memory by allowing over a dozen NPCs to be shown on screen at once. With the visual presentation, fast-paced action, and presenting all of it without lag, this would be a game that could not be pulled off on any other console at the time. And to enhance the story, gameplay, and real-world setting, would be music contributions of Hideki Naganuma. Hideki Naganuma had a knack for music since he started playing the electric organ at the age of 5. In the 90s, he worked as a bartender and DJ in one of Japan's famous jazz venues, Blue Note Tokyo. But his ambitions were greater than that. He wanted to make contributions to the music industry, sending demos to Epic Sony Records, and he sent demos to the company that would eventually hire him, Sega. He started on the Sega Saturn as a voice editor for the Revolutionary Girl Utena video game. It was his only Saturn game before working on the Dreamcast. It wouldn't just be Naganuma's original score that brought this vibrant game to life. It was his recruitment of music that fit the various genres that were hitting their strides around the time of this game's release that helped bring Jet Set Radio to life, both the literal game and the in-game pirate radio station. Music artists from across the globe, spanning an eclectic list of genres, were tapped on to enhance the experience of tagging your turf with graffiti. Artists like B.B. Wrights, Castle Logical, David Soul, F. Fields, Guitar Vader, Idle Taxi, Reps, Richard Jacques, and Toronto. There were even some artists that were exclusive to the region the games were released in. In the PAL region, Futurecast, OB1, and Semi-Detached were part of the soundtrack. In North America, Cold, Professor Murder Music, and Rob Zombie were part of the soundtrack. In both North America and PAL regions, the bands Jurassic 5 and Mixmaster Mike were part of the soundtrack. In addition to the music, the North American and PAL versions also got exclusive maps and new characters. Jet Set Radio was released throughout the year 2000 in all territories. In North America, the game was renamed Jet Grind Radio due to Sega of America being unable to secure the trademark for the original name. North America also saw a big promotional push for the game, including a stage dance show at E3 2000, featuring some of the licensed music and cosplayers of the in-game cast. There was also a contest where the winners would be flown to San Francisco to make graffiti art on a blank canvas for $5,000. This event was controversial as the mayor of San Francisco at the time, Willie Brown, attempted to shut down the contest. Mayor Brown was unsuccessful as Sega had obtained a legal permit for them to host the graffiti art contest in the city. Japan would get a re-release of the game that includes the North American and PAL exclusive content a year later under the name De La Jet Set Radio. Excitement for the game was high before its release, scoring numerous Best of awards at E3 2000. It also received multiple end-year awards and nominations from gaming outlets, and is credited by the Guinness Book of World Records as the first video game to use cel-shaded graphics. Jet Set Radio was ported to mobile phones in Japan in 2001 as a typing game called Typing Jet. The gameplay focused on typing different words to progress throughout the game. In North America and Europe, there was a Game Boy Advance port of Jet Set Radio, with the Jet Grind Radio name used in North America once again. This port was developed by Vicarious Visions, who also developed ports of the Tony Hawk games for the handheld. By using the same gameplay mechanics used in the Tony Hawk games, they were able to create as faithful a port to the home console release as they could given the limits of the Game Boy Advance. This port was released in North America in 2003 and Europe in 2004. The game received a high-definition port in 2012 for all the at-the-time current home consoles and mobile devices, as well as the PlayStation Vita. The high-def port of the game featured various quality-of-life improvements, and much of the music from the 2002 Xbox sequel, Jet Set Radio Future. There was even a contest to have your own graffiti art featured in the game. However, as of June 2025, the HD port of Jet Set Radio has been delisted across all platforms. A brand new Jet Set Radio reboot was announced at the 2023 Video Game Awards, which will be released under a new title and will be worked on by Sega Sapporo Studio, who will be behind other reboots of various Sega IPs. Earlier that same year, Dutch indie studio Team Reptile released a game heavily inspired by Jet Set Radio, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. In addition to the source material's influence, the game's soundtrack features contributions from Hideaki Naganuma. As for Smilebit, after Jet Set Radio, they would develop the Typing of the Dead, Panzer Dragoon Orta, Gun Valkyrie, and Ollie King. In 2003, Smilebit would merge with Amusement Vision to form Sega Sports Research and Development, which focused primarily on sports simulators, in addition to being the developers of the very first Mario and Sonic Olympic games. The studio would shutter in 2008. Jet Set Radio set out to revolutionize the way games were played and presented. In doing so, they made history as the first to create a completely cel-shaded experience with gameplay that wasn't common at the time, a story more grounded in reality with a focus on fighting corruption and the establishment, and giving a platform to music genres that wouldn't normally be heard in games at the time. It became one of the Dreamcast's highest rated and most popular exclusives, and would quickly become one of Sega's most popular franchises, despite only having a few games released. And while the world awaits news on the newest installment of the series, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk would make the wait easier on people, being a game developed by fans of the franchise, for fans of the franchise. But no matter how small the franchise itself may be compared to the others under the Sega umbrella, Jet Set Radio remains one of the most timeless, with a story that continues to age well 25 years later.
Grind Radio and the Goddess!
Groovy music.
Fastest of states!
We have everything you need to live the young, hip Jet Grind Radio lifestyle. You skate, you groove, you bomb bricks, and run from the man.
Jet Grind Radio on Dreamcast, early T14.
Shut up!
New AOL version 6.0. We have moved on.
Welcome.
New movies and music.
Well, movie ball.
It's like a friend just pops in to say hi.
My buddy list is huge. I have like 80.
Welcome. You've got mail. You've got thank you. You've got goodbye.
It is a world of darkness. The sin of Cain has spawned the cursed horror that stalks the night in search of living blood. The kindred have long been a secret influence through all ages of human history, plotting against each other in a never-ending jihad. Their immortal progeny are among us to this day, hidden from the eyes of humanity by an elaborate masquerade.
The year is 1530. For 200 years, the Ashikaga shogunate has ruled Japan from their capital in Kyoto. The recent Onin War has shown that they no longer have the power to control Japan's great clans. The time has come for a new warrior to claim the title of shogun. Japan is divided between ruthless warlords. Armies grow stronger, only to be depleted in the frequent vicious battles that give this era its deserving name, Sengoku Jidai, the age of the country at war. Year after year, the endless plains that divided the clan's territories are stained with the blood of thousands of brave samurai, fighting for their liege lord and for their honor. When necessary, accept help from others, not of our lands. Gaijin can be useful pawns in your campaign, as they bring guns from overseas. If they become a nuisance, they should be expelled from our shores, or even eliminated. When there is no other way, assassination can be instrumental in gaining victory. Even a general who is invincible in battle is as vulnerable as a child when asleep. Use the men of the shadows, for they excel in the deliverance of death by night. No one is untouchable. Honor is everything to samurai. A man who loses face and his honor must then also lose his head. This is Bushido, the way of the warrior. Follow these rules of wisdom that have been handed down through generations, and your victory will be complete. Japan can be ruled completely by only one man, a great warrior, general, and strategist. To become shogun will require battles to be won with the mind as well as the sword. Now is your time. Let total war begin.
Welcome to the world of my imagination.
Capcom presents.
Ready?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. New Age of Heroes.
yes, yes,